Hello and welcome to the Curiosity and Consciousness podcast. The intention of this podcast is to help you to open your mind, get curious about yourself and raise your consciousness levels. Through these conversations, we hope that you will go on an inward journey to discover the truth of who you are and become the conscious creator of your life. I am your host, Karen Maloney, and I work as an inside-out coach, mentor and guide, helping women to revolutionize their internal chatter and create a life they love. Listen to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or whatever platform you choose. And be sure to like, subscribe, review, and share the podcast. Check out my website as well, soulpowerlight.com, for more info. Hello everyone. How are you all doing? Hope you're keeping well. I'm a little bit hoarse, but I'm coming to you today with an episode with myself. But before I go into today's nugget that I wish to share with you, I invite you to join my mailing list. I've had a mailing list for a while and I finally started sending some probably weekly, maybe bi-weekly nuggets and information. So if you wish to join that, I invite you to do so. You can sign up. The link is in the bio on my Instagram. So if you go to my Instagram page, at soulpowerlight is my handle. And if you click the link in my bio, you will find the option to join my mailing list. Or alternatively, on the show notes on this episode on my website, you can find it also there. So you can go to my website, soulpowerlight.com, click the podcast section and this podcast, and the link will be there. I look forward to seeing you there. So then in today's episode, I wanted to talk about vibe. We all hear about vibe and vibration and our vibe and our vibe attracts and all these kind of different things. So I wanted to break it down a little bit in what exactly vibe means to me. So essentially, vibe is broken down into what we think, feel, and believe about ourselves, because everything starts from within. Everything we think, everything we believe, everything we feel about ourselves has an impact on ourselves, has an impact on our physiology, has an impact on our emotional well-being, has an impact on our mental well-being, has an impact on our spiritual well-being, has an impact on our physical well-being. So everything that we think, feel and believe, particularly about ourselves on a continual basis, has an impact, because like that, we are a living organism. Our cells are vibrating, they are alive, they are electric with energy and life force energy, and they are listening. They are listening all the time. So that is why what goes on inside of us in our own internal world has such a huge impact, because everything starts from within, and where we are creating our own internal vibe, there will be a match for it on the outside, because energy is all there is. Energy always has to match. Energy always has to equalize. So we are always a match for something. And again, this is often unconscious because we don't realize the impact of what we think, believe and feel about ourselves and the impact that it has. So often we can be unconsciously very negative or very hard on ourselves or think really horrible things about ourselves. And not all of it is our fault either, because a lot of what we pick up is subliminal, is subconscious, is from society, culture, religion, education, family, peers, as we were growing up. As we were really young and children, a lot of subconscious limiting programs and beliefs were picked up, because not all of it is bad. So what do I mean when I talk about what we think, feel and believe about ourselves? Well, let's break it down. So when we think about what we think about ourselves, we might think things like we are useless, we are no good, we are a waste of space, we're mean, we're unkind, we're not generous, whatever it is. We can have 1,000,001 thoughts about ourselves. And the thing about thoughts is, they say we have between 60 to 70,000 thoughts every single day. On average, some a lot less, some a lot more, but say 60,000 thoughts a day. Of those 60,000, up to 90% of them are the exact same thoughts as the day before. So they're the habitual pre-programmed thoughts. And then of those 90% that are the same as the day before, 80% of them are negative. So if we're thinking the same thoughts every single day and the majority of those thoughts are negative, I mean, it's no big mystery or dilemma then to why we feel crap or why we don't feel so great or why we feel in lower vibrations or lower energy, because we are essentially thinking negative, consistent thoughts all the time. And as long as we're thinking the same thoughts, we're living the same life, we're feeling the same way. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, the very first step in creating change is thinking greater than your current environment. So that's what we think about ourselves. Then when it comes to what we feel about ourselves, again, this can be wide ranging. We can feel unloving towards ourselves. We can feel quite cruel to ourselves. We can feel sad, depressed, pissed off, angry, frustrated, whatever. Again, there's a mountain of emotions that we feel. But if you think about it, because we are thinking 90% of the same thoughts as the day before and 80% of those are negative, obviously if we're thinking majority negative thoughts, we are going to feel lower vibration, negative emotions. And I don't like labeling emotions positive or negative. For me, they're higher vibration and lower vibration because all emotions are valid. Emotions are not bad. They're an end product of a thought that we are thinking or an experience that we are having. So they're actually a very important tool and guide and feedback system for ourselves to tune into and to notice and see where our thoughts are that are creating these feelings. They're an easier segue in my own experience to get to our thoughts than trying to focus on our thoughts, because sometimes our thoughts are hectic and they come and go so quick that it can be hard to pay attention to them. Whereas tuning into our emotions, for me, was an easier way to get to seeing and noticing and observing the thoughts that I was thinking. So again, naturally, if we have a predominantly negative internal thought-based system, well then it only makes sense that we are going to predominantly feel lower vibrationally emotions towards ourselves as well. And as within, so without, because we have these inner reflections and inner thoughts and feelings towards ourselves, well, that's what we will experience on the outside, because that's like the filter that we interpret every experience through. So then when it comes to the last part and the beliefs that we hold about ourselves, well, again, these beliefs can be wide-ranging and they can be on the level of nothing ever works out for me, life is always so difficult, life is so hard, life is unfair, nothing ever goes right for me, I can never do anything right, nothing ever works out for me, all men or women or relationships are bad, money is evil. Whatever these beliefs are that we hold, again, it creates an internal world, environment, feeling and vibration within us that then, like I said before, always is a match to something on the outside. Because we are all energy, everything is energy, everything carries an energy, so we are vibrationally always a match for something. So that's why it's so crucial to start change from the inside out. Because when we change our thoughts and what we feel and what we believe about ourselves, well, then we are literally raising our internal vibration. Because like that, for the most part, it is predominantly negative in most people until we do this inner work. So by starting to do this, essentially what you are doing is you are raising your internal vibration. You are shifting it from a lower frequency to a higher frequency. And then when we start elevating, when we start raising our vibration internally by changing our thoughts, feelings and beliefs about ourselves, well then we are going to be an energetic and a vibrational match for something very different on the outside. That's why all true lasting change has to come from within. We can exhaust ourselves for our entire life, changing things on the external to have the same thoughts, feelings and beliefs show up in the new situation, no matter what it is. And that's because it has to come from the inside out. It's all about changing our own internal world, our interpretations, our filters, our perceptions, and we do that through changing our thoughts, feelings and emotions about ourselves. Because as I mentioned, when we do that, we raise our baseline energetic vibrational frequency. We genuinely feel better as a baseline state. We elevate out of fear or negativity and we shift, we evolve, we grow into a higher energetic frequency. So then we are vibrating at a new higher level. So then we have to match with things that are also on a higher vibrational frequency on the external. It's the way it works. And that's why our vibe is so important. And if you are in that space of a lower vibe, no matter what's happening, you will always find something to see or interpret or create a story about. So it matches your lower energetic vibe. Whereas when you raise your vibe, you literally elevate it and begin to feel better. Doesn't have to be a massive jump at any one time, but it's just incremental bit by bit, feeling better and following what feels good. You will have different experiences show up, but also you will interpret them differently because you have changed your own internal workings and interpretations and filter system. You've changed your own internal perception and vibration. So it's really important. And as Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And that's essentially it. That's essentially the power we hold over ourselves, whether we believe something is possible for us or not. But again, that is all dependent on our whole internal workings and thoughts, feelings and beliefs about ourselves. And that's essentially it in a nutshell. So when we change that, we can literally change anything about our lives. So it does. It all starts from the inside out. So I invite you to get curious about, where is your vibe? Where are you vibing at? Where is your energetic frequency? What are you thinking, feeling and believing about yourself? And again, it's just being curious. There's no need for judgment or criticizing yourself. Everything begins with awareness and observation. Because when we are aware of something, and if it doesn't serve us or make us feel good, we can make a different choice. But we cannot do that without the awareness piece in the first place. So I invite you to get curious, just see where you're at. And as always, if you do wish to have some support and work one-to-one with this, reach out to me, pop me an email, karen@soulpowerlight.com, and I will be delighted to jump on a free 30-minute call and have a chat, see where you're at and see how I may be able to help. That's the process. That's the work. And it is powerful and beautiful and messy sometimes and seemingly difficult, but it is always, 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 always so worth it. And you're worth it. Let me know how you get on. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get notified every time a new show is released. Get more information on this week's guest as well on my website www.soulpowerlight.com.